Hey everybody, it's Wootini from GayGamer.net here with another video podcast. This week, as promised, I want to discuss the multiplayer aspect of Mass Effect 3. Last week I had only tried a few matches. Now I've had more of a chance to get used to it. So now I feel like I can actually discuss the multiplayer. I appreciate that it's co-op because I don't really care for death matches because it's hard enough to beat the AI video game enemies, but when you're dealing with other players, they're always going to be better at the game than me. I don't care if their character's at a lower level, they'll still beat me. They just will. I'm just not that good. I love video games, I'm just not always that good at them. So I appreciate that Mass Effect is co-op. You and 3 other players team up, and you can select which stage you want, what enemies you want to go at, but I was told that you actually get bonuses if you choose unknown planet, unknown enemies, unknown whatever. Like, you'll get a bonus because it'll just throw something at you, because they're harder. Like, Reapers are harder than Cerberus. So if you pick Cerberus, you'll just get whatever bonus you get, but you'll probably get out alive. Whereas if you pick random, they'll probably throw Reapers or Geth at you, and then you're kind of screwed. Because, I mean, I did one once where you had to pick off, like, 3 separate enemies in a certain amount of time. They're like, okay, you have a minute, go find this enemy and kill him, and it's fine. But the last enemy was a Banshee, and there was like 20 seconds left on the clock, and I'm like, how are we supposed to kill a Banshee in 20 seconds? Also, there's all these other things attacking us, Ravagers and whatnot. So, no, and we died. Because the goal is to survive 10 waves of enemies, and then get extracted from the location. And these are all locations from within the game. There's nothing that I've seen that's extra. Although it's funny because I played some multiplayer level. I played a multiplayer level on an arena, and then ended up doing that level later in the single-player game and going, oh, well, I know where everything is, which was kind of helpful, because I'm like, oh, I'll just sneak in the back door, because I knew there was a back door, having played that in multiplayer. I will say that playing with friends is better. I have played with complete strangers, and it's very easy. You simply select, you know, what whether you want to be, random enemies, and then the problem is that I had selected all random for the first time, and to do a random pick-me-a-match, and the problem was it threw me into a silver-ranked match, and I'm like, I'm not ready for this, and we didn't last more than 4 or 5 waves. Whereas bronze is a lot easier. It's bronze, silver, gold. So what I would do is I would select random, but bronze difficulty. That way we have a chance of making it out alive. The only problem is that with randoms, they're not always going to talk, and you can't really, you don't really get a sense of the camaraderie unless, as opposed to when you're playing with friends and you can actually converse with them and you're like, hey, I'm in trouble, help, help, or whatever. I mean, occasionally you'll get random people who are fun and nice and chatty and whatever, but a lot of people just leave their mics off, which it's not helpful because you're like, you could use some audio clues sometimes because the stages are kind of maze-like and you could use a little help. Also, the difficulty level of multiplayer is kind of insane. I mean, granted, it's sort of like, as you level up your character, it's like an RPG, where when you take that level 1 character and throw it in with your level 10 characters, you just leave him in the back, because he'll get killed right away, but by completing a level, you get so much experience that the upper characters, they don't get, they might not go up a level, but he's going to go up like 3, because he's so low down. So in the beginning, I was leveling up like crazy, and it was great, and I was able to augment my powers, but, I mean, I played, like, I think 4 or 5 matches before I finally found out how to change my weapon, because I was using a shotgun, which was lame at close range, at long range it was lame. Close range it's great, but I don't like letting them get that close to me. And especially not when you're dealing with a nemesis or some giant, whatever, a brute. You want a brute? You can use a shotgun on a brute? I don't think so. So, finally I learned how to change my weapon. Unfortunately, I don't think that I haven't been able to figure out a way to change the buttons for my biotic powers. I can't seem to change the mapping. I don't like the way they're mapped. I also don't like the powers that they chose for me. Only one of them is a power that I like to use in the game. The other power that I like to use in the game is not included in multiplayer, which I think is kind of crappy. So that was irritating. Like, you can't choose your biotics. It says, oh, you're going to play a Vanguard? Here's what you get. And I'm like, I don't really like those two. But you have to play a while before you can level up enough where you can do some damage and survive, and then also where you'll earn enough credits where you can go and unlock, you can go to the store and buy new weapon packs where you can get new weapons and weapon upgrades and some first aid packs and some missile launchers and whatever. So for like the first half a dozen rounds, I had nothing, so I was completely useless. Then I started to get more equipment, so I was a little bit more useful, and then I started getting more kills. But it wasn't until, seriously, I had played like a dozen matches, I think it was literally my 12th or 13th match, that I finally made it to the extraction and survived all the way. And then your bonuses are really good. Normally I would die on wave 8, 9, or 10, where they start throwing multiple banshees at you and stuff, and you're just like, oh my god, you are killing me. Because it's just too much. And there's no way around it. It's just insane. So, the difficulty is kind of obnoxious, and is really hard to survive to the end. When you do, it's a great, you feel really good about it, but, it's just wave after wave of enemies, and if you're not playing with friends, it's kind of, eh. So I don't know that I'm really going to play a whole lot of it. I have heard that you don't have to play multiplayer to get the best ending in the single-player game. So, I mean, I've got it up to, 74, 75% readiness now. So I feel like before I go into endgame, I'll want to get it up a little bit. I'll play some multiplayer just to get it up there, because it'll just make me feel better going into the endgame. The problem is that if you get the Reapers are always coming, so when you're not playing multiplayer, every day it seems to go down 1 percentage point. Because I played and I got it up to 72 or 73%, and then I went to play again and suddenly it was down to 71%, and then it was down to 69%, 67%, and I'm like, crap! So you have to keep playing multiplayer in order to keep that percentage up there, which is annoying. I don't know that I'll ever get it up to 100% because that's going to take a lot of playing. So, and I don't have that kind of time. But, I do want to get it up just a little bit before I go into endgame, just to make me feel better about our chances surviving the Reapers. I also feel like I'm getting really close to endgame anyway, because right now I've done all kinds of side missions. I've done lots of scanning and recovering of things, and I think right now the only thing on the galaxy map is the Geth stuff in the back corner, and I don't know if I do that, if it'll unlock more stuff, or if that is literally it, because I am heading into, I think I've been playing for about 27 hours, 28 hours maybe, and so I feel like that's about the right length for these games, where I think I should be heading into the end soon. Which is sad, because I am enjoying it a great deal. I do love Mass Effect. And I am, of course, tempted to just go pop back in Mass Effect 1 and start over again with a different character, but I have other games to play that I haven't finished, so I should probably get to those. In other news, PAX East is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I'm surprised. I've made a few appointments with publishers, which I remember the first year of PAX East I had 1 appointment, and then I think last year I might have had 1 or 2, But this year I've got 3, which is starting to feel a little bit more like the E3 thing, you know, where it's like, oh, okay, so maybe you can get an appointment with the developer or publisher and see some stuff, and, you know, it'll be a little more worthwhile. Because without an appointment, you have to wait in line at PAX East, and I don't want to do that. But I am excited because I have an appointment with Square East, and... I have an appointment with Square Enix, and I want to see their Final Fantasy music game, which is for the 3DS, which I find interesting because as a rhythm game, you'd think that you'd want to make it for the regular DS so you could look at the touchscreen as you're tapping, you know, like with Elite Beat Agents, but it's on the 3DS, so it's going to be more like Gabrielle's Ghostly Groove, where you're just tapping, and it's all about the rhythm, not about tapping in specific spots, because you're going to be staring at the 3D screen for the 3D visuals. But I do feel like that's a good indication that pretty much the DS is on its way out, I feel, and the 3DS is where everybody's going to be focusing their energies. Which is interesting because, like I said, Final Fantasy music game, it doesn't seem like it should really go on the 3DS, but there it is. So now I feel like you're going to just get random games on the 3DS that don't necessarily need to be in 3D, but they're going to be because that's the console that everybody's buying now. But I'm super excited about that and look forward to a full report after PAX East in a couple weeks. Oh, and in other news, there's a very, very popular movie that has just come out, but I am not going to opening weekend of this movie because I don't want to deal with those crowds. So, luckily, my new Blu-ray Battle Royale collection has just arrived, so I will get my teenagers killing each other in arenas from this. It contains Battle Royale, the theatrical and the director's cut, and Battle Royale 2, and a 4th disc full of extras. Battle Royale 2 is not very good. And I appreciate that you want to include the theatrical cut as just for completion's sake, but why would you watch that when you have the director's cut, which has way more violence, and it's way more cool, and there's the other scenes too. And I just checked out a few scenes on the Blu-ray, and it looks way better than my old DVD, which may or may not have been a legal release. I do not believe it was legally released in the US, so it may be just a really nice bootleg. But I recommend it. It's a great Blu-ray. The picture's terrific, even if Battle Royale 2 is not that great. It's a really cool package. So I'm going to shut up now because I feel like I am going way over my prescribed time limit, and I will see you next week. Bye!